Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you are in the world. Welcome back to the Caring Economy with me, Toby Usnik. Today, I have as my guest Yash Chavan. He is a marketer at heart who's also the founder of SARAL, which we're going to talk about today. SARAL is a Sanskrit word, and it's the name of his company, which is a tool that makes finding, managing, and monetizing influencers simple for e-commerce brands. He's an engineer by training, but dropped out of college to work in sales and eventually started a marketing agency where he scaled with many brands and software companies to over $1 million in annual revenues. But over the last couple of years, Yash has been exploring the world of influencer-driven marketing, as we all have in the private sector. And he's worked with over 5,000 influencers. He's created and perfected a 6-step system that any brand can apply to start and scale a successful influencer program. Hey, welcome to the Caring Economy, Yash.
Happy to be here chatting with you.
So, Yash, we always start with asking our guests to tell us a little bit about their professional journey, their career journey, how they got where they got, maybe where you grew up, the role your parents played, where you went to school, any sort of mentors you had along the way. So why don't you give us a couple minutes to digest of your life?
I was born and brought up in Mumbai. This is my hometown. This is where I grew up, where I was a kid, where I was a teenager. So yeah, lots of experiences. Fundamentally, if you were to speak about my career, it really started in college. Like I like to say, like every Indian ever, I had to become an engineer or a doctor. So I went into engineering college, and turns out it just was not for me. I kind of like quasi dropped out. I stopped attending college and then started like I got a sales job, thankfully, and then started working in B2B sales at a fintech here in Mumbai, and then got my start there. Eventually, from the sales world, which is one-on-one, I found marketing, which is one to many. So I just fell in love with marketing, and then since then I've been doing that. I've become like the head of growth at a couple of companies, and then started my agency and took it from there. And speaking of mentors, there have been so many of them that I can't name a single one. If I were to name someone, there's like Rob. He's a marketing leader. He's been like a CMO at multiple companies for 15 years. And I was just a young 19-year-old back then. So he really took me under his wing and taught me some stuff. 2020, when the whole world went remote, I was mostly, till then, I was mostly working with companies based in Mumbai or Bangalore here in India. But then in 2020, I was like, yeah, like it's all going global now. It's all going remote. So why not start working with international brands and companies? So that's when I started the agency, and that's how and took things from there. So yeah.
You
Yep.
sort of joked about the expectation that you, like a good Indian son, would study engineering. But can you talk a little bit about that? Because I think there is a lot of peer pressure. Your parents obviously still went along with your journey. Was it
Yep.
a big thing when you stopped attending classes and said, I don't want to be an engineer?
Good thing was that I had a job. I didn't make the mistake of dropping out first and then going finding myself or doing, because I had to play my cards right. I had to play within the constraints of. So parents always want, like, even if they are a little bit conservative, they want you to like become an engineer or doctor. They have certain expectations of you. I think they only have them. They want the best for you. Like there's no parent in the world who just like want the worst for their child. Covered that base for them. I was like, hey, listen, I have a job. I think I'll do way better here. And I like this. I'm having fun doing this. I'm not with that. And there was still friction, but they saw that I was super committed. I made sure that, hey, I can always go back to college. So yeah, we had those conversations, those tough conversations. And then after that, they were pretty supportive of what I did because they know I wasn't fooling around.
Now tell us about Saral. How does it work? Who are your clients? What's it all about?
So I was doing marketing. I started the agency around late 2020. And then we were doing just all types of marketing for brands, email marketing, customer acquisition through ads, through different types of things. And then what happened was the iOS 14.5 update happened from Apple, and then Facebook ad. Then I think that was around the time where Mark Zuckerberg was under like scrutiny by the Congress or something like that for privacy issues. Facebook went down because of the Apple update. So lots of stuff happened. And then Facebook ads, which was like the primary acquisition driver for most of the brands that we worked with, it just fell apart. Like it stopped working. So brands stopped acquiring new customers. So as an agency owner, I have two options. I could get fired because my clients are making no money, or I could come up with a different way to get them new customers, right? So I took the latter route. I was like, okay, let's just try influencer marketing. Because the way I looked at it was word of mouth at scale. Okay, word of mouth is the best marketing channel, right? It's free, very trustful. You won't buy something because you saw a Super Bowl ad, but you would buy something because your colleague recommended it to you, right? You're more likely to buy, way more likely to buy. I guess in 2020, everyone, because of the lockdown, everyone was more online than ever before. They were kind of living parasocial lives with creators online more than ever before. So it was just the right time for influencer marketing to work. So we did that. We were really successful. We worked with 300 or 500 creators for one single brand, and we learned a lot in that journey. Now, we were doing all of this manually in Google Sheets, in email. It was all over the place, right? Wasted tons of time just keeping everything updated, tracking all the numbers, and then Google Sheet every week. It was all a mess. So naturally, I was like, there has to be software that simplifies some of this for us. So at this point, I'm not building a software. I'm still running the agency. We were working with small brands. I've always had a thing for working with smaller brands. I don't know why. I think I have more impact when in a smaller company than if it's like a 100 people organization. It means they did not have huge budgets. But when we looked for software that helped us do influencer marketing, they all cost like 20 grand a year, 30 grand a year, some even 50 grand a year. And our clients could totally not afford that. And I thought that was a bit not normal or not equitable, so to speak, to have a software that's so expensive. And like, what about the millions of small businesses that want to do this and can't because the access is gated by this huge paywall up front, and you could only pay for the year. You could not get a free trial or anything of that sort. So I was like, you know what, I'm going to do something about this. And that's why we started SARAL. A lot of these other tools were also pretty enterprisey, complex to use. So I was like, what do I really want to do? I want to build something for the smaller player, and I want to make it simpler. So I stuck to the simple ethos and I picked the name Saral, because Saral is a Sanskrit word and it's a direct translation to simple.
So how does it work?
I'm going to give a sales example. It's very similar to what a sales cycle would be like. So if an organization wants to make some sales, they would have a salesperson or a team, whatever. They would reach out, they'll find a list of prospects like, hey, we need marketing leaders at in this industry, in the company of this size, right? They'll have all these parameters. They'll find their emails, their phone numbers. Then they'll email them, call them, send them notes. They'll reach out to them basically, and then they'll hop on a sales call, close them, right? Do the onboarding. That's the sales cycle. Now, influencer marketing is kind of a similar thing where let's say you're running and yeah, you're right, it's mostly product based. There's very rarely that people are selling services through influencers, although I have seen that a little bit, but it's mostly products. So I'll show you how it works with an example. So let's say it's a skincare brand. They're selling sunscreen, right? So they want to reach out to women who are in their 20s, right? Let's say this is their target market. So they'll come to our platform, Saral. They'll just enter their keyword, which is say sunscreen or hashtag summertime or beach or something like that that's related to sunscreen. And they'll search and we'll show them a list of influencers that are posting about that topic. So if they're posting about skincare or beaches or summertime or something, then we'll show them all those influencers. But that's not it. You need to filter that list to get down to the exact demographic that you want to reach. So we have a lot of filters in terms of, just like in sales, you would filter by like company size, industry, stuff like that. In Saral, you can filter a list of influencers by location, by their interest group, by gender, by a lot of other factors. And then, so this is one part, like finding influencers to reach out to.
Do you kind of have the client stick with one or a handful, or are they constantly changing and experimenting?
Some of them are like, hey, we already have some influencers we're working with. We just want to use your management features. Some of them are like, we are new to influencer marketing. We just want to find new influencers, because sometimes it's like one type of influencer works better than another type of influencer. So then they go all in. So it's very it's all over the place. Yep. So that's the first part, is like actually finding those people. The second part is the outreach. So you got to reach out to them. So we have a lot of automation built into the app. The way brands used to do this beforehand, let's say they have a list of 100 influencers to reach out to, they would have to manually email every single one of them. With our tool, we have automated sequences. So they can send the first email, personalized, like with personalized lines, personalize their name and everything. So it's not like they're sending spam outreach. And then we have automated follow-ups too. So if they don't reply, we follow up, and then we've seen that helps improve your conversion rates in terms of like getting someone's attention, getting an influencer to reply to you. We mostly find their email. It's very hard to get their phone number. So it's like an email campaign that goes out to them. And once they reply, it's again like just like a normal sales process. A brand might hop on a call with them to explain their product, or they just do the deal over email. And that's usually how it works. And then the final step is the engagement, the management, because getting a reply and reaching out to them is one thing, that's fine. But if they don't post about you, if they're not engaged enough, if you don't build a relationship with them, it's not going to work for your brand. So that's what we also facilitate. We have like a very cool relationships board feature where you can see where everyone is, who's posting, who's not posting, how many sales were driven by each one of them. So you can keep reaching out to them, build that connection with them, hop on calls, hop on like live sessions, podcasts, do different kinds of engagements with these influencers. So at the very core, it's like a relationship management platform, because I fundamentally believe that the relationship is the ROI. If you build good relationships with ambassadors, basically your influencers, you will win, you will succeed at influencer marketing. They can reach out to any influencer in the world with our platform. So we don't have like a limited number of influencers. It's pretty unlimited. We don't also cap it by a set number. Like, hey, we don't say that, hey, you can only do 100 for this price, and if you want more, you're going to pay more. None of that. So it's just one flat price, and they can use it as much as they want. Right now, you can search, a brand can come on our platform and they can search for a TikTok influencer, an Instagram creator, or a YouTuber. But they can't currently search for podcasts. But podcasts are such a force for good in the world. So we are going to add podcasts as well. So we consider everyone who has a certain network, a certain influence. You don't necessarily have to have like a big Instagram following or a TikTok following. You just have to be like a niche individual and with expertise in a very specific area, and you are a source of influence. You may not be an influencer, but brands that want to sell to or reach out to or work with your network of, say, young entrepreneurs or a C-suite, they will like reach out to you and maybe like sponsor your podcast.
So then tell me, who are your competitors? Are they the big brand agencies? Are they advertising agencies? Who do you consider your competition?
Some agencies actually use our software to service their clients. The agencies are totally not our competition. They're our customers. There's those big bad 30 grand a year software tools that are those people are our competition. But I like to say they are competition because they have some of the same features as us. Realistically, they're not our competition because they're not selling to the same market. Our tool costs $150 a month. They give us 7-day free trial, no card up front. Anyone can come on. They don't even have to put their card details on, and they can sign up, start finding influencers, reaching out to them. Even when they want to pay, it's just a monthly commitment, so they can cancel anytime, and it's just $150 a month. Versus these quote unquote competitors of ours are charging 30 grand a year. A brand cannot do a free trial. They have to pay the entire 30 grand upfront at the start of the year. No free trial, no none of that. Right. So we're like, they're selling to Coca-Cola, to Samsung, to all these big corporations. We're selling to like the e-commerce brand that is new, that's like, a couple 100,000 in revenue. We're like a super small brand software.
And are you English language only, or how does that work? Because your influencers are global.
Our primary market is North America. So US and Canada primarily, like 90% of our customers are there, but there's like a couple of customers in Europe, one in Australia. So I like primarily English language only.
There's a lot of debate about TikTok, in particular, whether government is going to ban it or not. What do you think about the whole TikTok debate? And then, separate question, what are the trends you're seeing in the social media space with influencers? Where are they going? Are they going off Twitter, as we might suspect, or what?
Yep. Not too sure about what's up with Twitter nowadays, because it's so up and down. One day you think it's gonna be great, next day you see something, it's like, it's not gonna work out. So not sure, but like I'll comment on the TikTok Capitol Hill, especially because TikTok's banned in India. So I am from India. TikTok's banned in India for national security reasons. And I think that's like a similar debate that's happening in the US right now. I think short term, there will be some brands who are big on TikTok who might lose some revenue because they just took away the platform. There were influencers before TikTok existed. There was wine that existed. And then there were wine influencers who transitioned. Like the biggest example probably is someone like a Logan Paul, who was primarily a short video wine content creator. Then he moved to YouTube, he became a good YouTuber. So I think good creators exist in the long run. The good creators will be on whatever platform it is that works. And hey, in India, we don't have TikTok, and there's tons of brands doing influencer marketing on Instagram and YouTube. And yeah, it's going good.
Whatever the platform, that is where brands need to be more active. They
Yep.
need to be doing these kinds of storytelling.
I'm actually seeing brands. So since you also asked a little bit about trends, I'm seeing brands actually hiring content creators. Some do more transactional. It's like they hire someone, they get videos made, and then they stop working with them. It's kind of like a freelance video creation agreement. But the best brands that I'm seeing, that whom it's really working for, they just hire a content creator in-house as a social media person. And that creator then becomes the face of the brand online. Because honestly, like, people don't want to interact with like a sunscreen brand, right? They want to interact with the person who had bad skin, then they used this product, then they became good, right? They want to interact. People want to interact with people.
Yep.
So the best brands, they're engaging more with creators. They're building these deep long-term relationships with them. And that's what I'm seeing working right now, is just like building these long-term relationships. A lot of brands think that they want to get like hundreds of creators, 500 creators promoting their brand. But I'll be honest, I've seen like you can have 50 ambassadors or creators promoting you nonstop every single month, and like you're set for life. You don't need another marketing channel.
Ladies and gentlemen, again today on the Caring Economy, we have Yash Chavan. He is a marketer at heart. He is the founder of SARAL. Yash, tell me a little bit about the misperceptions about influencers. I think some folks, older folks, might think like, oh, these are dilettantes that don't need to work or are spoiled or something. They don't really move markets, but to the contrary, I think they can and do. So I wonder what you might say.
Certain stereotypes are true for certain people, but it's a person by person. There's some creators who are straight up media businesses. Like, they're not influencers. They have like a team, they have an agent, they have a publishing schedule, they know what they're going to post 1 month from now. It's like a media house that they're running. Versus there's some maybe a little bit younger people who are like, I want to be an influencer, right? And then they'll post two TikTok videos and think they're famous, right? And those are, and that's a trend. It's a new thing, so people hop on. But long term, I think creators are always going to be here. There's, listen, like, even if it's like a little bit older people listening, there was always an influencer, right? Even if you go back, like Coca-Cola launched the Santa Claus, because we are around Christmas recording this. Coca-Cola launched the Santa Claus. Santa Claus was an influencer. Like, they used Santa Claus to sell stuff, right? Coca-Cola, Santa drinks Coca-Cola, right? That's an influencer. Everything that an athlete is doing, they're repping a brand on their jersey, that is an influencer, right? Yep. Any newspaper editor who's writing up an article mentioning a brand there, that's an influencer. It's like, influencer as a term is just now normal, but I like to just generally, broadly, fundamentally think of it as source of influence, right? 20 years from now, who knows, like in the metaverse, what would happen? But there will always be people who other groups of people listen to, and that's the source of influence. That's the influencer, right? Like, I was on another podcast, and they asked me, who do you think was the oldest influencer? I was like, hey, maybe Jesus, right? Because like, he was an influencer.
Can you say a little bit about diversity, equity, and inclusion, both in your own business and how you run it, but also maybe in the influences? Is that a category, so to speak, that brands can check the box and find in your set of influence people who could help them there?
Pretty agnostic. We're not like a diversity focused business, but we have brands that are very focused on. So I'll again like answer this with an example. There's one brand that signed up that is, it's like a clothing brand specially for queer people, right? They're like, we just do clothing, not for men, not for women, queer people, right? And then they're using our tool to find influencers who are also queer, sending them these t-shirts for free and getting posts out, right? Getting the word out there. And especially with like marginalized communities, underrepresented communities, influencer marketing really works well, because you'd be surprised. Like, there's a lot of influencers that are posting about their own story on social media, just sharing authentically what their life has been like. And if you're a brand that honestly is selling to them, and obviously that means you care about these people, then you can use our platform to find them, reach out to them, manager. And like, even if you don't use our platform, honestly, if you're looking at any marketing channel, influencer marketing is probably the best, because it's so trust based. And usually in like communities like these, there is less trust. Like, why should they just trust a brand? They don't know if you're just like, greedy, trying to take advantage of them for profit, or you actually want to help. I mean, influencers are a great way, because influencers have this built up trust already with their audience, and you're kind of like piggybacking off of that to get your message out there as a brand.
What about the brands that hire you? Are they largely commercial, or are there nonprofits that also hire you?
No, we don't have any nonprofits working with us. Mostly, pretty much everyone's commercial. So, but yeah, that's very interesting. If like a nonprofit wants to work with us, I'd be excited.
Can you tell our listeners how to be in touch with you?
Sure, yeah, I think best place is LinkedIn. Just search for my name, Yash Chavan, and you'll find me. You can just message me there.
And your website is www.
Get Saral, GETSARAL.com.
One last question for you.
Yep.
What advice do you offer to young people in particular as they're setting out in their careers? And then, sort of the follow on to that, what about older professionals who may have been disrupted or laid off with COVID or other things?
Yep.
What pearls of wisdom have you gleaned through your career?
What's worked for me is just listening to my heart and just going with it. Like, because when I set my intention on something, I just know that I would do it. Like, there's no, like, I don't believe in plan Bs. I'm like, hey, if we're doing this,
Yeah.
like, we're getting it done, right? So if especially if you're young, you can afford to have this attitude. Because if you fail, like I said in the beginning, right? If I fail, like the conversation I had with my parents, if this fails, I could always go back to college, right? And especially if you're super young, like you're 16, 17, 18, like you have, and you're in college or in high school or whatever, you can use that as kind of like a crutch. Like, because even if you're in high school or college and you start a business and it fails in like 18 months, you can, like, people would admire you that you took that initiative and started, and like, hey, like, she's just in high school, it's fine if her business failed, that's not a problem,
Yeah.
right? So you can use that as, that's insane leverage, and you have so much time. Like, I'm 24, so I have so much time. But if you're like less than 20 years old, I think you have an insane amount of time. So just like, I would say, go with your heart. That's what's worked for me, so I would advocate for that.
Okay.
And older people, I'm not sure what I would say, but what advice I would give. But I don't think I'm in the right place to give advice to older people. But if you've been disrupted, or I think like just upskilling helps, because I've had some of my own friends who are slightly older than me, not necessarily like super old, who got laid off during COVID, or just left their jobs, or quiet quit, something like that. And the best advice that I would have for them is just like, education and information is so accessible nowadays. Nowadays, we're in the open world. Everyone like openly shares about their secrets. You can watch keynotes on YouTube, listen to podcasts like these ones, and learn about new industries and see what's happening. Like, maybe you find influencer marketing interesting, right? Like, yeah, I think don't lose hope, and if you're listening to this podcast, you're already on the right track. So yeah.
Touche. Well, I thank you for that plug. I really appreciate it. Ladies and gentlemen, again today, it's been my privilege to have Yash Chavan on the Caring Economy. He is the founder of SARAL, a tool that makes finding, managing, and monetizing influencers simple for e-commerce brands. Check it out if you are looking for influencers, but then I think also think about the older folks. Maybe they are worthy of being influencers themselves, given their
Yep.
experience. So the
Yep.
more conversant we become in it, the better. And Yash is a perfect first stop for that. So thank you so much for joining us, Yash.
All right, Toby. Thanks for having me. So went to the market, looked at software and